So that was my original plan, but that plan did not work out that well, to be honest. So I just had to pivot. It seems like pivoting is the story of my life, as it is for every entrepreneur, and I'm sure you're, familiar with that. I think when I met you, Nick, I was $135,000 in debt. And then after I was on the show, my older cousin heard me and then she thought I was like really famous or something because I was on your show.
Love
And
it. Love it.
it was really funny. My parents were like, "What are you talking about?" And she kept explaining how wonderful I was and how wonderful the show was. But honestly, it gave me a lot of inspiration. And from there, I was determined to get out of debt by the next Thanksgiving. And I actually exceeded that. I got there by Bastille Day, so July 14th. And then I paid off my mortgage, which is another $305,000. I, fixed up stuff in my home, everything that was broken, and, started my retirement fund again, blah, blah, blah. But life is not always a simple straight line, right?
No,
So
in fact, probably rarely is.
right, exactly. So then 2 years later, I went to the doctor for a routine um, colonoscopy, and then they whisked me off to the ER. So
Ooh,
that was a lot of fun. And it turned out, unbeknownst to me, even though I was feeling fine, I had dangerously high blood pressure, where they said I narrowly avoided having a stroke or a heart
jeez.
attack. Yeah, so it was pretty scary. It was just getting my health back, and I did whatever I could. I changed my eating habits, all that sort of stuff. And to make a long story short, I got better and also at the same time improved my autoimmune disease. So it was a narrow escape with a good outcome, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear you're on the mend.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. So it's been a couple of years, and then I decided to really turn over a new leaf and really focus on things I really enjoyed. So I was no longer worried about the money. I just wanted to do things I liked. So I've been blogging, but I kind of honestly, I don't like writing and I just got sick of blogging. So I did Etsy as like a creative outlet. I had no idea that I would like it so much, but it was actually a lot of fun. So that's what I've been doing and focusing my time on because I feel like I'm helping people. So I
Yeah, the Flooring
tried.
Girl has been around forever. This site, you get sick about talking about, whatever the seasonal paint colors are.
Right, right. I've been doing it since 2010, so it's a
Yeah.
long time, right? So I was then kind of trying to improve my health. I was stressed, blah, blah, blah. So I then created a whole bunch of health trackers. I did a blood pressure chart. I mean, I sell it for like $1 or something. It's not like a big money maker, but I felt like I was helping people and I was helping me at the same time drive my blood pressure down and eating healthier foods and avoiding things with more cholesterol and stuff like that. So I made several things like that.
Okay. Yeah. Starting with, oh, well, what's going on in my life right now? Starting
Exactly.
with a kind of a scratch your own itch approach.
Exactly, exactly. So what I was doing was failing, but I knew that Etsy had a big opportunity. So, just like with blogging, you start with what do you know? What do you like? And how can you leverage that? So the simplest thing, like a blood pressure, one page, tracker is all I did. I did other things like that. And then I started getting into games because I've always loved games. So I created a July 4th trivia game just because I had a blog post on my website that was for July 4th fireworks, in my county. So I did that. And of course, it was, I don't know, November. So it wasn't very relevant.
Oh,
So
okay. Okay.
then,
You got to skate where the puck is going, right? Okay. Come July, there's
exactly.
going to be some demand for this. Okay.
Exactly. So then I said, okay, I made it done, but it proves to me that there's an opportunity here. So now let me do another trivia game. So I did a trivia game for Thanksgiving. And then I said, okay, well, there's Hanukkah and there's Christmas. And you just keep going through all the different holidays. I would do that. I would do different games. And I just had fun with that because it was really interesting. I just enjoyed it. There was the solar eclipse this year, so I did several solar eclipse games. So whatever is kind of the moment or coming up, let's call it 2 to 3 months in advance, I would do it. And then I would just keep doing different things I was interested in or that I wanted to learn more about. And that's kind of how I did it. At some point, I had this realization that when I was younger, like in high school, I had this conversation with one of my friends in math class, like, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I told them I wanted to be a puzzle master,
Okay. Okay.
like Will Shortz does, except at that point in time, Will Shortz, I didn't know who he was. He wasn't anyone famous, but I'm like, I want to do something like that, but there's no such job. So, I just went to college and had a regular job.
Yeah, like a virtual escape room coordinator, or that's a really
Right.
interesting one. I had a
Right.
similar, because now you're making money doing that, like taking it back to high school. I had,
Exactly.
my job shadow day. Would have been junior or senior year, was going down to like the sports broadcast office for Channel 5 in Seattle. And I was like, yeah, it's super irrelevant to what I'm doing today. But and then my buddy was like, you're kind of in media, that seems actually pretty relevant. So I was like, oh, it's kind of this weird full circle moment of, yeah, I guess that is kind of is broadcast media in a way.
Exactly. There's so many things I've done in my life in different jobs and different courses I took in college or high school or just, continuing ed courses or hobbies or anything. And so then I just kept going through my brain like, what do I like? What am I interested in? And then I would try to understand, is there a need for whatever that is? Do a little bit of keyword research, try some stuff out. Some of it worked, some of it didn't. Then do more of what works, like rinse and repeat. And that's basically what it is.
So I'm picturing like trivia game, like Trivial Pursuit, where I've got a bunch of these cards. I got these, question cards that people are cutting out at home. It's just like a big list. Like, tell me just like a little bit of the the structure of what the product looks like.
Exactly. So you can't use Trivial Pursuit because that's a trademark, but you can
Sure.
take games like that or something else and call them something else and make sure you don't use the trade colors of them or anything like that. But yes, that's exactly the idea. And what happens is when you make some products, Etsy recommends other products that are like this, and you kind of can't help but notice other games. So as I start creating more games, I see more games that are available and then I try those. And then some work, some don't. And then whichever ones of those work, I make more of those. And then I get more suggestions. And then it gets my brain going because I am not naturally a creative person, like not at all.
I don't know. Give yourself some credit. You've been creating content on the internet for 14 years here.
Well, you get better at it. So the point is, you don't need to be creative. My mom would always say, you're so creative. I'd say, no, I'm not. Really, honestly, I'm good at creative problem solving, but I'm not a creative person. But it doesn't matter because you can just learn it because as you do it, you become more creative. Just like I did not know anything about flooring, but you learn it. And then I became good at home decor. So you just, as your interest level increases, your curiosity does too. And then so does your knowledge. They all work together. And then ideas, they just come to you. It's like I don't even try anymore. I mean, you've seen one of my things where I wrote like I have 1,014 ideas of things I can create on Etsy.
This is on the upcoming product to-do list. Like if there
Yes,
was only more hours in the day, here's what I would get done.
exactly. And my list, I was afraid when I started, I would quickly run out of ideas. I didn't even know what to do in the first place,
Yeah,
right?
that's what like our blog to do, blog keyword upcoming article list and video list kind of looks like. Where it's like because we're adding more all the time, like adding more faster than we can create this stuff, and
Exactly. And
it's
that's
just
what happens. It's the same thing that happened with my blog post. Like a customer would say something to me or ask me a question. And not only would I answer it, but then I'd say, oh, that's a blog post idea. And then I would write it down, do it. And my experience has been the more ideas I do, the more I come up with. So my to-do list
I
never
think that's the
gets
mark of a
shorter.
creative person. Yeah, give yourself some credit. So it
Thanks.
sounds like, so starting, 4th of July trivia game, and now I kind of have a template that I can, maybe this got a little bit of traction, so I can pivot that to, all the other major holidays and events, and create the same product, but kind of like,
Exactly.
Monopoly has, every different city has their own Monopoly type of game or something like that.
Right.
And it's, well, you didn't have to start completely from scratch because you had some templates built out.
Exactly. And you just keep reusing the templates, and then you just come up with other ideas, use the same template so it makes it faster. And not only that, you just get better. And I try to do things I already know about. I also use AI to help me, and we can talk about that later. But I pick topics that I like and have an interest in. And because of that, I can do them quickly. So now I can pretty much get each game done in, like, let's call it 30 minutes. And then I
Yeah.
can list it in 30 minutes. That's not how it started. But after you get the hang of it, you do that. And then you say, oh, here's another game. And then you adapt the original template for the second game. And then you can keep going down and down, and you can change the topics. Like, you can do a trivia game about this hobby or this sport or this food or these types of books or these types of TV shows
Yeah,
or
or this
whatever
football
it is.
team, or yeah. You could see how that would be kind of a cool, even a cool gift for somebody who's a Washington
Exactly.
Huskies fan or something. And you're like, hey, do you remember this play against this team, or do you remember this key player? Yeah, I think it would be, once you start going down that rabbit hole, it can be pretty endless.
Yes.
But to get it started, did it start with keyword research? Like, how'd you come up with the idea to do a game in the first, aside from, the high school math, or like, I want to be a puzzle master. Like, I always want to get into gaming.
I don't know, honestly. I probably read it somewhere. I probably saw one. Oh, no. It was because I know. It was because of July 4th, as I said. And then I said, I know a lot of July 4th trivia because I've been to, I don't know, Mount Vernon and, I mean, not all the places, but where a bunch of presidents lived. And I was like, oh, like, which president died on July 4th? And I just started stuff like that.
Is this where
Totally.
AI comes into play? Like, and then you got to fact check, I suppose. Like, did that actually happen?
Right, exactly. So then after I started selling more, then my next question is, how do I do this more efficiently? So that's when I tried AI and using it on ChatGPT, which is free, or Claude AI, or different ones like that. It doesn't really
Yeah.
matter. And then I purposely pick things I know. So if I'm doing something about the presidents, I would know, and I would, anything I'm not sure about either is off the list, or I may say, is that true? And then just Google the information, because AI can definitely give you the wrong information. So, like,
Yeah.
I would not do a holiday like Diwali. Oh, watch, I'll end up doing it. But I don't know anything about Diwali. So I'd be having to research every single question to make sure it's correct. I mean, the worst thing you can do is have a question with a wrong answer. And I have, and you will get a bad review.
Yeah.
So, I pick stuff generally that I know or that I mostly know. And then while I'm doing it, I have fun doing it. And then I learn some new facts as well, like the eclipse. I love the eclipse. I've been planning to go there since 2017. And then when it was coming up, I was like, oh, I'm going to go because I can drive somewhere upstate New York and go and see it. And then, oh, let me make it more fun for me. I'll create a trivia game for that. And it makes the whole event more exciting. So.
Nice. And then, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Are there any tools that you like on the keyword research side to try and figure out, well, it's still quite a bit of effort to create this thing, especially the first few things. I want to make sure there's some level of demand there.
Exactly. So that is so important and is one of the big misses that many people make. So I highly recommend doing that. I use two keyword tools. I'm not very original in this, but they are very practical. So I use eRank and I use Insight Factory. And then very importantly, I care about market research, which is, are people actually buying it? So not just searching for it, but actually have user buyer demand. And I can find that out on both Insight Factory and eRank. So it's real actionable data.
If I'm poking around in those tools, are there any metrics that I'm looking for in terms of, I don't know, they give you volume, do they give you buyer, estimated sales volume, competitiveness, anything like that?
In general, you always want that people are buying stuff and that there's low competition, or else medium and medium. But you don't want to have high competition. That's the biggest mistake most people make. They'll do something very generic like a planner or a calendar, which is fine to do, but you need everything to be more specific. But for me, I really focus on the sales data, which is sales. I know that sounds so stupid when I say it, but that is what it is. So you can't go by revenue because the keyword research tools are not accurate at all on the revenue because it takes the original list price and not the actual sale price or the discounted price. But that's not what anyone buys it at. So you need to use the sales, and then you look at how basically the velocity, how many are selling per week or per month or that sort of thing.
Okay, so sales meaning like number of transactions.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for
Okay.
clarifying. Yes.
And then sales velocity. Okay. And I imagine for some of the seasonal stuff, like it might look like nothing is moving, but is there a way to go
Yes.
back into, well, last
Yes.
November, this is what happened?
Yeah. So you can go back and do that, or you can just use your logic in your head. Like if it's for Halloween, that's basically going to sell in September and October. So just do the math.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, either way, or do division. How long has the product been around for? How many days? Use a calculator if you need to, but that's what I do. Yes.
Okay. And I'm assuming Canva to like build these out, but I really don't know.
It depends on the product, but I mainly use Canva. I also do some spreadsheets because I love spreadsheets. So you could do that. I see some people doing some things on Word as well, but
Okay.
anything that has artistic elements of any sort, I do in Canva. I'm not a designer. I can't do anything advanced. I just do simple stuff.
Yeah. Speaking of spreadsheets, I came across this business last month. It was called Spreadsheets Crafter. And I don't know if they sell on Etsy or not, but they sell a buttload through their site, and they're driving their own traffic from TikTok, from Instagram. And it's like $35, pay period budgeting template and things kind of in that budgeting, personal finance type of space. Just printing money, no cost of goods, no cost of delivery.
That's right.
You could discount it to whatever you want. It's still incremental. It just was really interesting. And like, are you pretty much relying on Etsy search and discovery, or are you able to drive your own outside traffic to some of the stuff through, through your own social media, through the website, through influencer partnerships, anything like that?
So there are two ways to approach it. So first of all, let me talk about Etsy for 1 second, because I consider that phase one. But with Etsy, you honestly do not need no source of traffic whatsoever. Once you learn how to do Etsy and Etsy SEO, you just put the product on there and it can sell over and over. I do not use any form of social media. I don't even use generally email, but we got to come back to email in a second. I don't send any traffic from my website or any website. I do nothing.
Okay.
Nothing for marketing. And yes, I have tried. And no, I don't think it's a very good use of time.
Fair enough. Going back, I forgot to clarify on the like eRank or Insight Factory. I think you mentioned, hey, look at the sales velocity. Is there a minimum metric there? Like, oh, I want to make sure it's moving 10 transactions per week or something like that.
In general, if you feel it's worth your time, then you do it. So let me go back to what you said before, which is there's no cost of goods or anything like that. And there's no work once you need to do it. Like I don't need to make any of this stuff or sew anything or package it or send it or pay for postage. So the margins are pretty high. The margins, you can easily on digital products make 70% margin versus on something like print on demand, which is, a different story. But those people are usually only making 10% margin if they are lucky.
Sure. So then, it's physical product, shipping involved, all sorts of stuff.
Right. And you have transaction fees and PayPal fees and like all that sort of stuff. So 70% is a good amount. And honestly, if you were selling it on your own site, you would still have some of those, fees for whatever program you're using. Plus you're going to have PayPal fees, that sort of thing. So you can't get around, you can never have 100%. But then you have to think, okay, is that worth my time to make it? Most of these products I can make pretty quickly. Like I can maybe spend an hour on it and then be done. That's the combination of making it and listing it, and all the listing images and everything like that. So then you have to say, what is it worth it? Like, what could I price it at? And then guesstimate in your head or on a calculator. I just do it in my head, like how much you can make, right? So for me, I try to, at a minimum, look at something that I think could sell at least once a week. And sometimes I find that I end up making much more than I expect to, sometimes a little bit less. They kind of average out, but that is what I use as a benchmark. If I'm a new beginner, I just want to try to make a few sales. And then I want to keep stretching the bar and make more and more.
And that's the stage that I'm in, like that thrill of that first making money in your sleep, kind of passive income type of thing. I put something out on the internet, somebody bought it, some stranger, searched for this thing and they bought my thing. And that's a really exciting moment and probably quite addicting, where he's like, well, shoot, how do I do more of that? And, keep leveling up and keep creating more of those products. What's a typical price point for something like this?
Well, it depends what you're selling, but I sell most of my items between like $1.49 to $10. So a lot of them may be in the $3 to $5 range, but that's kind of the range of what I do. So they're really quick and simple to do and rinse and repeat. And as you said before, you can take the same idea and then just, swap out some stuff for a different holiday or a different occasion, like a birthday or something like that. So it gets much quicker.
Yeah, totally. And some of the stuff, like think about not necessarily who you're competing with on Etsy, which is certainly a factor, but at the low price point, a simple blood pressure tracker, you're competing with people just making their own spreadsheet, like for free. It's like, well, it can't be that expensive because it's super simple to make. Whereas, a more complex trivia game, of course, is going to command a higher price point.
Right.
Do you ever go and shop these to, a Hasbro or anything like, hey, do you want to license this, this IP that I created, and you could turn this into like something that's on the shelves at Target?
Well, that's another idea, but I haven't even gone there. I am looking for simple in my life now. So since I had that blood pressure scare, I do simple everything. People do escape rooms, and that's a great example of a more complex game. And I have been meaning to do that, but I generally don't do that. What I will do is take several simple games and bundle them together. So instead of selling one game, I may be selling 5 games or 10 games and do it that way. And then I also will sometimes take the same games and put those in bundles of other products because they can apply to anything.
Got it. Yeah, and it increases the average order value and perceived value. That makes sense.
Exactly. So I often think about my business in layers. So you know how in the winter you're supposed to wear layers to stay warmer?
Yeah.
I do think about the same thing about insulating my business. So it makes it harder for that money to erode. I have been working on a lot of things the last year or so to improve my average job size. That's what I call it from the flooring business, but whatever
Mhm.
you want to call it, you
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
the idea, right? So
Okay.
can I trade people up to a higher price item or get people to buy 2 items or get people to buy 3 items? That is what I'm doing. Etsy just came out with a new feature about a week or so ago where you can bundle 3 items together as
Oh,
well.
cool.
So that's one way I do it. Another way I do it is in the listing images, you might want to get the matching item. So if I was doing something for Halloween, let's just say, then I might have 10 different Halloween games. I could take one and be like, you might also like these, or I could take one and say, or you get a better value by buying all 10. There are different ways to do it, and you try different ways.
No, I think that's really smart to try and increase that order size. Yeah, because again, it's like, well, it doesn't cost you anything extra to, you know, include one extra link in the delivery email or something. So that
Right,
makes a lot of sense.
right.
And I should note here, we're not mentioning the name of the store for the sake of copycats, similar to some of the
Yes.
other Etsy related episodes that we've done in the past. Stuff can be relatively easy to duplicate and rip off. So we want to protect Debbie's site. Go find your own niche, people. I think is the the moral of the story there. But you like games, you like spreadsheets. Any other product categories that people
Oh,
should
yeah.
have on their radar?
I probably do about 10 or 15 different things. And that is part of the key of diversification because you want to have sales going every month of the year round. Like I don't want
Yeah,
to
yeah.
just do well for one holiday or whatever. So I do things like handprints, like handprint art, like for little kids, like toddlers. It's really cute. I do some spreadsheets. I do Canva templates, some for businesses, some for regular people. I do photo collages. I do fillable trackers.
Like where people would upload their own pictures and you turn it into a collage.
They turn it into a collage. It's DIY. I don't get involved in anything. But yes, I'll create a template of blank frames, in whatever, it could be a number or a letter or whatever, and then you can upload your own pictures in there,
Yeah.
or so you could do something for pets. I haven't really done that, but I do that. You could do that sort of thing.
Oh, but you know what I saw?
Whatever.
So you know, in Canva Pro, they have all these like photo effects on. I forget what even the which part of the menu or this is, but like it was I'll turn your image into a hand drawn animation, or I will turn this into kind of like an anime looking thing, or I will cartoonify. It's like I guarantee there are people on Fiverr selling this as a service. You
Yes.
upload this file, and 5 minutes later they have sent you the thing. It's like no work required. You'd already paid for your Canva Pro license, and now you're just selling this thing over and over again.
Right.
So another another business idea for you.
Yeah, that's great. And that's the point is like I started very, very simple. I started with printables, 1 or 2 pages, and my design skills were not that good. And my head would explode if I was trying to learn too much. So I didn't. So I just did easy stuff. And then after 3 or 4 months, I then do something else. And then a month later, I learn something else. And by taking these little baby steps, I just keep improving my skills and broadening the breadth of what I do. But you have to take baby steps.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you have to do anything with Etsy ads, or are you primarily relying on just organic Etsy search?
Right, pretty much organic search. So I did not use any Etsy ads until after 18 months, maybe 19th or 20th month, but only on like a couple of items and only a little bit. So you
Okay.
can do this organically. So right now, let me just tell you what I ended up getting. So it does take some time, but I hit $750 in month 6. And then about my 1 year mark, slightly later, maybe like 12 and a half months or something, I was at $1,000 a month. And then I think around 18 months, I was at 2,000. And then a month or two later, it was 3,000. And now I'm over 4,000 per month.
So it's kind of like I'm picturing that chart that's kind of starting to accelerate a little bit. You can see that path
Yes,
forward.
exactly. And this is not the only thing I do or not the only way I make money.
Right.
So, if I was spending even more time on it, I could probably do much better. But it's fun. It's cathartic. Like I said, I had to get over the whole blood pressure thing. And I was like, I want to do stuff I enjoy. It turned out I enjoyed it much more than I thought I would. It taps into my creative side, even though I'm not very creative. My design skills have gotten much better over time.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm excited for you. This is the mark of a good episode for me when I hang up being like, I should totally go do that. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
I know it's the result of a lot of consistent effort and being really intentional and targeting the right keywords and everything. But, when you start to see those results, you start to see that flywheel spinning. Oh, it gets exciting there. So I want to point out, Debbie's got you a free Start Your Etsy Shop challenge that will link up in the show notes for this episode. It'll be sidehustlenation.com/Debbie2, since this is her second appearance, Debbie2.
Right.
Again, that's your free Start Your Etsy Shop challenge, which will link up for you and encourage you to go check that out. We'll be right back with rounds 2 and 3 with Debbie right after this. All right, we're back with Debbie from theflooringgirl.com. Round 2 is donate a business idea. This is something that you might start yourself if you had more time. This is something that ought to exist in the world. This is something you think listeners could start if they were so inclined.
What I would do, and I've been meaning to do forever, and you will laugh at this because it's very original. I would love to do a podcast. Okay. So I really got started making money online while listening to you and Pat Flynn and some others. It gave me the motivation when I was at my low point. So I always had wanted to do something like that.
What would your show be about?
It would probably be about making money online or entrepreneurship or something like that. I actually, this is so sad. I actually started one. So I recorded, I think 4 episodes, and I had a plan to do it, but then life got haywire. So I was having a conversation the other day with one of my good friends who I had coached and taught SEO many, many years ago, and she's doing really, really great. But she just asked us on this phone call, this momentum group we have, do you guys think it still makes sense to blog? Like, can you still make good money blogging? And
Yeah.
all of us paused, and we all said, yes,
but
yeah, but it depends. And so my answer was, clearly you can make money online blogging because I have made a lot of it, right? I know plenty of other people that have, and I know it's more challenging. But if I think about where things are now versus where they were in 2016, which is when I kind of had this whole have to start over sort of thing.
Yeah.
There have been so many more things that have become so much more popular, have become very popular, whether it's podcasting or YouTube would be something I would recommend to other people, but not for me because I hate I'm sorry, I made an exception for you, but I almost never go on video because I hate it. I hate seeing myself on the left-hand side. I'm trying to look at you and not at me, but it's too distracting. So
You see, the secret is I'm off in my notes. I'm off in another tab. And I don't see the video and even then, I don't really watch it. My video person, she puts it all up on YouTube. So I'm sure there's times I forget. I'm like picking my nose or something. I don't know.
Right. No, I totally know what you mean. But I started doing some live meetings where I could be behind my slides. And that worked really well because I wasn't distracted. I wasn't looking at myself and wondering about my hair or anything like that. So I think that those are great opportunities for people. If you feel comfortable doing it, do it. But then I said, it depends on what you like doing. Like now I'm getting really jazzed up by Etsy because it's visual and creative in a different way than I've done for the last, 8 or 10 or 15 years. It's just that's what interests me right now. So I think it depends. what medium do you feel comfortable in? Is it writing? Is it doing creative products or digital products? Or is it doing YouTube? Or is it doing podcasting? Like whatever energizes you is what you should do. I mean, you hear all those people like, what brings you joy, like all that sort of stuff. But I think it's true. It's because you're going to keep doing it. Like you can't just choose something because it's going to make you money. You have to choose something because you like it and it happens to make you money. Like that's how I see it.
All right. Well, you heard it here first. The upcoming Debbie Gartner show is coming to a podcast player near you. We're looking forward to checking that out. And I think it's probably similar to these Etsy products. It's, trying to find that niche that resonates with the right target audience, the right listeners. I mean, obviously it's more crowded today than it was in 2013 when the Side Hustle show started, but there were already lots of entrepreneurship podcasts at that time. And I think why the show worked, and worked is very relative in terms of like the download chart in the first few years, but it was niched down into that side hustle specific type of space. And I don't know, for some reason that resonated. Obviously there's some survivorship bias to that, but it's a very difficult platform to try and grow from scratch. But the people who tune in they're with you for the long haul. They're often like completionists, I kind of call it. Like if you start an episode, you're likely to listen to the end, whereas like you look at the drop off on YouTube videos, it's like how many people, I lose half the people in 30 seconds. And like, that's considered good. You're like, dang, This is, the attention span is crazy, but the relationships that you can build and trying to climb what I call the listener pyramid from strangers at the bottom to listeners to subscribers to fans. And with every piece of content that you create, try and elevate people on that pyramid. Unfortunately, the biggest section, the base of the pyramid is strangers, people who don't know you exist. So there's a lot to play on that discovery side. YouTube is a part of that. But you have a little bit of an existing audience through the email list who I'm sure would love to tune into you and just hear, well, what am I working on? I enjoy checking out your emails and say, well, what's the latest and what's working, what's not working, what kind of challenges are going on?
Right. One of the fundamental things I learned in marketing a long, long time ago is build unbreakable bonds with your audience. So the question is, how will you do that? As an example, on Etsy, which I'm now doing, and I just told you I enjoy, a lot of people will come in and buy a product and then you never hear from them again, right? But when you have an email list, which really honestly needs to be phase 2, then you can keep connecting with them over and over again, right? I have an email list from my blog about making money online, and I used to publish all my income reports, and people became very interested in that. And I have some of the same actually some of them came from your show in 2019, and they remind me, I've been with you since that podcast with Nick. I didn't know who the heck you were, but I liked what you had to say. So I'm sure that happens with other people, but you have to like build that audience and keep connecting with them. So on Etsy, that is now my next step. I'm trying to create an audience from there on some of the topics that they are already interested in, and I am too, and build an email. So I started that.
Does Etsy give you the customer information? Like you're able to remarket and say, hey, we came out with a new product that is semi-related to what you already bought. Come check it out.
Exactly. That's the key. You need to narrow it down to one topic. So if you're a shop like I am, where you may have a multitude of things for different types of people or different types of needs, you can't just do a random email list. So I started one on games because I don't even know how many games I have, but I know I have more than 250. So I might have close to 300. So I'm starting a list on that. I started that almost 3 months ago, I think 85 days ago. And I am at, 200, as of yesterday, I was at 275 people on there. So I'm getting
people joining through their transactions, they get added to that database, they get added to that list.
Exactly. So you can't just automatically add them to your list. That's against Etsy's terms, but you can have them opt into something and get them on that way. So I'm experimenting with that, and
Got it. Got it.
it does seem to be driving some more sales, but it's honestly a little bit soon to really tell. But I can see there's a share and save link, and I can see the sales going through there, and it's going up and up. But I really want to wait until the end of the year to really analyze the impact on that. And then from there, I will probably at some point create a Shopify store that's my own, and
Yeah. Yeah.
then I can market in both
what's the
places.
opt-in, or what do you how do you incentivize people to get on the list after making a purchase?
You give them a free something that's related to the something that they already bought. So when I looked at my data, I don't know, a month and a half ago or something, among the people that were seeing that, because I didn't put the same, like if I was doing games, I would not put that in handprints. It just makes no sense,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So if I looked at the games, 8.5% were opting in.
That's pretty strong.
Yeah,
It
I was
feels
pretty happy with that, considering that they're loyal to Etsy and they don't know who the heck I am,
right.
right?
Yeah. Okay. So you
So I'm
can't add
trying
them
to grow that.
automatically, but you got to give them some reason to. And I feel like it used to be more common with Amazon. I don't know if they've cracked down on it or they're just like the packaging has changed, but you used to see those like product slips, register your product or, get a free bonus by, and it's like, well, I know exactly I know exactly what game you're playing. You're trying to get me
Right.
onto your list so you could hopefully wean yourself off of Amazon. And you said, maybe, well, that's phase 3 is, phase 1, Etsy, phase 2, email list, phase 3. Maybe it's your own store where you can start to drive your own demand and traffic.
Exactly. That's my plan, and that was my initial plan when I joined Etsy, and I was going to get them onto my home decor email list. But it
Yeah.
didn't work. But that doesn't mean doesn't mean the idea doesn't work, because the idea does work. It just that idea did not work for me.
Fair. All right. So we got a little bit sidetracked in a good way. So
Right?
round 2 was the donate a business idea. That was to start a podcast. Somewhat of like a difficult thing to turn into a business, but can be a really powerful relationship builder. It can be maybe a content marketing channel for some underlying business, because it was years, to be totally truthful, like before the direct revenue from the sponsorships, in my case, turned into what would be close to a full-time income from the
Right.
show. But I'm still very bullish on podcasting. I think there's a lot of upside. It's really a powerful and fun place to play. Obviously, it's been 600 episodes. Still
Yes.
love doing it, and have no plans to go anywhere. So that's round 2. Round 3 is our triple threat. The first part of this is a marketing tactic that's working now. It doesn't have to be Etsy related, but what have you got for us here?
Okay, I'm trying to do things that are simple and easy for me. So I try to find things that enhance and improve the productivity of what I'm doing. And so for that, I've been using a lot of AI and trying to really think about the prompts that work to help me generate the games that I create. So I use ChatGPT, I use Claude AI, and I use Gemini as well. I'm hoping soon to get into Midjourney as well. So I don't do tools for tool's sake. I do tools that enable me to do what I'm already doing better or faster. So
Okay.
those are the things I'm using.
So we can put those down on the tools front. And then what kind of prompts are you feeding? You like asking for product ideas, asking them, we talked earlier about like asking them to help you come up with the trivia questions in that example. Anything else?
Right. So AI is not good for telling you how important or relevant stuff is, but they're good for once you've determined that to then feed into the input of what you want to create. So I may say, give me 20 questions and answers about XYZ, whatever XYZ is. I may also be more specific and be, more targeted, like for kids or for teachers or for senior adults, whatever the different thing is. So I do that. And then I just try to refine those more and more to get more specific. And I'll just rinse and repeat and do that.
All right. I will add those as our recommended tools to check out if you're not already using those. And you've been playing around more and more myself, like with different prompts to try and prime it in the right way. And what's really interesting is, I mean, it probably knows who you are. It probably knows some interesting things about you, because I can prime it like, hey, you are Nick Loper from Side Hustle Nation, and you need
Right.
to accomplish this goal. And it's just, and it kind of starts to do it in your tone. It's really interesting. Anything on the marketing tactic, either driving traffic, driving sales, anything there that we should know about?
So instead of just finding new customers, it's how do you get the customers to be more and more loyal and buy more things from you? So instead of trying to drive as many people as I can to my email list, I want to get the highest quality people on my email list, regardless of what the email list is. So on Etsy, there are some people, as an example, that say, oh, opt in here to get 20% off your next sale. And you can do that. But those people are not loyal. They're just shoppers, right? They're not loyal customers to you. So I'm going after people that have already bought something, and then I'm trying to keep in touch with my people so they want to buy more and more.
Oh, that's
And
great.
I try to also do loyalty discounts. So if someone buys a product from me, then they may get a discount off of the next product from me. So for example, I do a lot of challenges, and I've teamed up with my good friend Sasha, and we're now doing Etsy challenges, but I've done challenges of various sorts, whether it's SEO or blogging, doesn't really matter. But you do like 30 things in 30 days or something like that, right? It just keeps you going and it motivates you as a group. So we will take something like that, and then the first time it may cost $49. But the second time you get a $20 discount, so it's only $29. I want to reward the people that have rewarded me.
I like that. I think that's really important to remember. Like, it's so much easier and less expensive to
Exactly.
sell something extra to somebody who already knows, likes, and trusts you than to kind of convert a new subscriber, customer, listener, viewer totally from scratch. And that's
Yes.
probably an important reminder for me. It's like, oh, how do we get more page views? How do we get more? It's like, well, there's already this existing audience. How do we better serve them? And so I think that's
Yes.
an
Yeah.
important reminder for sure.
Yeah. What do they need? What do they want? What resonates well with them? How
I
can you
like this.
use their ideas to create new podcast episodes for you? And how can I use that to generate new product ideas? Anyway, you can do it.
Yeah, I like this loyalty discount. I'm sure there's a way to uh, filter the email list. Everybody who's stuck
Oh,
around for more
yes.
than a year. Like, could you send them some, hey, thanks so much for being part of this community for over a year. Here's, some special deal on something I have. I don't know.
That's a
That
great
would,
idea. That's a great idea. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is, I mean, I use Active Campaign. I'm not sure if you're still using that or not, but everything that people bought from me is tagged. So I
yeah, yeah,
know
yeah.
what everyone bought. So I will sometimes do emails that only go to people that bought this product or that product. That's one thing I don't like about Etsy is you can't control that. Etsy owns the customer. Amazon owns the customer.
Yeah,
You don't. So you want to create those unbreakable bonds with your customer. That's why I ultimately want to get them off of Etsy. I will still use Etsy as my prime way to get things out there because they have such a huge audience and bigger than I will ever be able to build. But they can bring in a steady pipeline of email subscribers to me to keep building.
totally.
So then I don't have to worry about things like, you know, Google algorithm changing or Pinterest algorithm changing or Instagram, like whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. They are loyal to me, and that is what I want.
Totally. That's the ultimate way to kind of protect yourself against algorithm changes, whatever update that may happen, and
That's right.
you run into trouble there. But if you have some level of loyalty and a database of customers that you can communicate with directly, you're in a much safer place. It was interesting. My yoga studio just sent me this because I had just turned a year of being a member there. It was like, hey, happy birthday. You've been a member for a year now. Your membership is now 10% off. And it was unexpected. It was it was really kind of surprising. I don't know if they filtered that by who was actually going to classes, because I imagine if you trigger that to somebody who hadn't been going, they might be like, oh shoot, I should probably cancel that. But in my case, oh, I've been using it. I was like, oh wow, I didn't, and now I'm talking about it. It was kind of an unexpected thing. And sure enough, it hit the statement, it was 10% off. So in those loyalty discounts, I think that's a really interesting one.
Right.
Let's wrap it up here. Your favorite book from the last 12 months.
Okay, so I don't read books anymore, but I'll choose one that I would like to read, and I think will help a lot of people, which is, I heard, Mo Rocca?
Yeah, I know that name.
A TV celebrity or something, I don't really know, but I heard him talking on the radio about, octogenarians. So it's basically people that got started or got restarted or pivoted in their life when they were older. Older in his mind was 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. They might have started new businesses. They might have started new hobbies that had an impact. And I think it's so inspiring. And I meet so many people that need to restart their life. I myself did. I had to do it once in my 30s and once in my 40s. And it's hard. The older you get, the harder it is you get set in your ways. But I love the idea that you can really start anything at any time as long as you have the passion to do it and the drive.
All right. Octogenarians, late in life debuts, comebacks, and triumphs. We'll link that up in the show notes. I mean, you probably see the thing Ray Kroc started when he was however old. Colonel Sanders started when he was however. These people who we get in our mind you got to be in your 20s to start anything meaningful. It's well, you're never too late to do this stuff.
Not only that, I think that when you do it when you're a little bit older, you have your own experiences that can actually make you more successful. So a lot of people that I know that have been successful, even online, have been older. They have been in their 40s, 50s, 60s, that sort of thing, because they have experience that they bring from somewhere else. It all translates there.
Very, very good. Well, Debbie, it's been awesome. We should do it more frequently than every 5 years. It's been awesome to have you back. TheFlooringGirl.com is where you can find her. Check out the Start Your Etsy Shop Challenge, which we'll link up in the show notes, sidehustlenation.com/Debbie2, or just follow the link in the episode description. It'll get you over there. If you like this printables model, we've got another episode on the printables business that is $4.49 in your archives. And if you want more Debbie in your life, you got to check out our original episode from 2019. That's number 362. You got to scroll down a little bit to find that one. We're talking SEO, we're talking Pinterest, we're talking affiliate income, all for the Flooring Girl site in that one. And if you haven't got yours yet, I want to invite you to grab your own personalized Side Hustle Show playlist at hustle.show. All you got to do is answer a few short multiple choice questions. You can do it on your phone. It's going to ask you about your side hustle interests and goals, and then it's going to recommend 8 to 10 episodes to add to your device and what to listen to next. So hustle.show for that. That is it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're finding value in the show, the greatest compliment is to share it with a friend. So fire off that text message. Hey, let's crank up that Etsy shop. Until next time, let's go out there and make something happen. And I'll catch you in the next edition of the Side Hustle Show. Hustle on.